Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Om, Shiva Hum, Om. Welcome to another Satsang with your host, Chuck the Yogi from the Yogi Cave. As the flowers begin to blossom and the spring progresses, let us continue with the Shiva Sutra. And before I get on with this, I just want to mention a certain troll, and I just want to remind you that this channel is for grown-ups, and you can throw your temper tantrum somewhere else. Anyway, 2.9, Janam Anam, translation, knowledge is the food. Commentary, not so much knowledge about things and processes. This knowledge of things and processes must be transmuted into pure knowledge of consciousness. Otherwise, a sadhaka takes the risk of becoming a mere bobblehead or walking encyclopedia. What's the point of that when you have Google, right? He will be able, or she will be able, to talk up a storm, but have no realization of the truth. And that is the main pitfall for any aspirant for the truth to avoid as the plague that we're going through right now. Jai Mahakal. So that is one of the many pitfalls that are available in this age of ample technology, where everything is a button away, an icon away. You can Google anything, you can Siri anything, but does this mean, does knowledge equate to wisdom? Well, Shiva Sutra and Lord Shiva himself would argue that. Anyway, 2.10. Vidya Samhara Tadut Hasva Na Darshanam. Translation: when pure knowledge is destroyed due to pride or carelessness of the seeker, there arises visions or illusory and dreamlike worlds. Commentary. This is a major pitfall of a sadhaka, as explained earlier, many times earlier. Knowledge of things and processes can be mistaken for pure knowledge. This in turn can create a state in which the sadhaka is vulnerable to self-deception. He may become totally enamored of the astral realm and wander from thought to thought, practice to practice, and book to book, as a butterfly seeks out flowers for nectar. Such a dilettante opens himself up to remain in various stages of self-deception for life, and even eons of time and space. Jai Maka. So the caveat and the warning is abundantly clear. We live in an age of unprecedented access to knowledge, to information, but that doesn't necessarily equate to wisdom. And the keys are there, but are only given to those that are able and willing to pass the outer court of the temple. And I'm just going to leave it there. All right. Section 3. 3.1. Atma Chitam. Translation: the individual self is the mind. Commentary: the mind of the regular jiva or self is the regular mind that thinks about things and processes, as I've explained earlier. It is the mind that frets over the what-ifs, over the past and the future, the rational mind. This mind, or I am, ego, is the mind that is to be merged into the mind of pure consciousness. If such a jiva wishes to move out of the sandbox of creation. Jai Makan. So again, we're talking about the importance of not undoing mind. Some have gone that route. No, rather to merge it with something greater. And I'm not going to get into the details of that, but it's important to know what the path is, as well as the pitfalls along the way. Anyway, 3.2. Janam Bandha. Translation: limited knowledge is bondage. Commentary: as in section 1, we are once more reminded that knowledge of things and processes is limited knowledge. It is the knowledge that binds us to the sandbox, to the construct. This knowledge is great to understand anything within the sandbox, but is unable to explain anything beyond the sandbox. The exoterically minded scientists have extended our understanding of things and processes from the village edge all the way to the edge of creation, but it can only explain about 5% of all phenomena. The rest is dark to the limited mind. Pure consciousness occupies 95%. Jai Makan. So no matter how much we learn, no matter how much we've advanced, we still know next to nothing. It's all negligible. It is unprecedented. It is imperative, rather, that we move beyond the negligible, that we understand at least that there is this 95% just simmering underneath the surface, and that whatever we do within the sandbox is just the tip of the iceberg. Anyway, 3.3. Kala dinam tatvanam aviveko maya. Translation: ignorance of the true nature of time and other constituents which are characterized by limitation is the definition of Maya. Commentary: the word kala shares the same root with the English word scale. Kala, or time, is a scale or a measurement of time. The tattvas are stages in creation according to Samkhya philosophy. According to this philosophy, which is the foundational philosophy of everything that is Indian, there are about 25 constituents between pure consciousness, or Purusha, and manifestation as we understand it, or Prakriti, very similar to what you would see in the Kabbalah. These include such constituents as Buddhi, the intellect, Ahamkara, the ego, Manas, mind, and the 5 senses, the Karmendriyas, or action constituents, the subtle elements, or senses, and the gross elements. All in all, these constituents are a contracted form of Purusha, or pure consciousness. Jai Mahakal. So we're talking about contraction versus expansion. We're talking about the process of creation, how creation is from Keter, on the tree of life, of the Kabbalistic tree of life, to Malkuth, the kingdom, the construct, and everything that's in between. There are only degrees of subtlety between the highest and the lowest. And one of the best ways of understanding this is through a process of constriction and contraction. So the whole process, therefore, of yoga would be to engage in the opposite: expansion of consciousness, expansion beyond the sandbox, and so forth and so on. These are just very useful metaphors to have, to understand what is the purpose of yoga. Is it to look good? Well, it's great to look good, but that's not the ultimate purpose of yoga, right? Hatha yoga, the positions, all these other things, is to have a healthy body and a healthy mind to begin the process. It's not the end in and of itself. Anyway, let's see if I can do one more maybe. 3.4. Sharire samharaha kalanam. Translation: the forces or tattvas in the body should be dissolved back to the source. Commentary: yoga is a form of practice of inversion of the natural way of things. It is logical that if Purusha to Prakriti involves a certain order from subtle to gross, that it would require practice to reverse consciousness back to its pure state before contraction. This sadhana is accomplished by developing a merger with ever subtler and subtler constituents of oneself. As Jesus once said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. As above, so below. As within, so without. Jai Mahakal. So right there, you have the crux of the matter. This is all about expansion. This is all about moving beyond the sandbox. And it seems like a contradiction between Dharma, which means the natural way of things, and to move against the natural way of things, to go contra natura, if you want to put it in Latin. But this, when we're dealing with these things, we have to deal with paradoxes, logical paradoxes that defy explanation. So I'm not going to get too deep into that. I'm just laying out the pieces for you to understand what this is all about. And this is what Shiva's doing. He's just laying it out for you. And I'm just expanding upon that to you, my Western audience. Anyway. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om. Shiva Hum. Om. Jai Ma. Jai Mahakal. No trolls. Till next time.